Opening up the UFC 308 fight card, we have Bruno Silva taking on Ismail Naurdiev. Ismail Naurdiev, 3-2 in his last 5. Naurdiev, I don't know, dude. I'm going to butcher so many of these names. It is what it is.
Well, you just add a letter in between R and D when you say it for no reason.
I will listen to John Anik say the name. And obviously, not, he's been in the UFC, but I'll hear them say the name, and then I will still come in here and just pronounce it the way that I think it's pronounced anyway. It is what it is. Till we get to Motobek. That one I memorized. But Ismail, 23-7 in his career, 3-2 in his last 5. He is making his return to the UFC, taking on Bruno Silva, 23-11 in his career, 1-4 in his last 5. He is on an unfortunate losing skid. And this is an interesting fight to break down because Ismail is a name that you're going to see and you might think it's a UFC debut, but he is not. He actually has been in the UFC before. This is his second stint. His first stint was from 2019 to 2020. He went 2-2. Then he has gone an impeccable, a spectacular 4-3 to earn his way back into the largest promotion on planet Earth. He does bounce between weight classes all the way from welterweight to middleweight. He'll hit some 175ers on the way in. Style-wise, he's an aggressive striker, good grappling, competent as a kickboxer.
Thank you, Dan.
And a wrestler. That fight so far on, we'll get to the thank you, Dans. I had a clip of the thank you, Dan, in my quick picks. Either way, he's competed as a kickboxer. He's competed.
That you were able to find that on your own. Huh?
It is. As a wrestler, but for some reason, he does struggle to put it all together. He has the individual skills, but really can't turn into an MMA fight. Taking on Bruno Silva. He's a UFC staple at this point. Heavy-handed guy. Solid BJJ. He can knock your head off at any moment. He can implement a grapple-heavy game plan. And although he does have good hands and he hits like an absolute freight train, he is hittable. He gets hit more than he hits other people. He's got that negative striking differential. His performances are pretty hot and cold, and that makes him unreliable. But he did look okay in his recent loss to Chris Weidman before he got double eye poked, and a very interesting situation in that fight. Bruno is an underdog, and it continues to widen. You can see here he opened as a favorite. Then he was just a slight underdog. Now he's just a larger and larger underdog. I think the line's getting too wide. I think Bruno should be a dog. A slight, tiny dog, if not even money. I don't know why this line's taken off. Ismail has lost plenty of times. I mentioned he struggles to put everything together to fight a complete MMA fight. He can wrestle, he can strike, but he doesn't typically wrestle and strike. Bruno has the higher level experience. He's fought the better people. But at the end of the day, I think Ismail's going to come forward, throw hard, and squeak out a win. I'm not confident enough to bet, especially at these odds. You're going to get better odds at BetOpenly, but I think the odds are still a little too far gone. But I think this is the end of the Bruno Silva UFC run. What do you think, Jakey Boombalats?
Yeah, I think I pretty much agree with what you said there. I do like Ismail as the better overall fighter. I just think he is a guy that could do some things in the UFC. As you mentioned, he's very talented. He can wrestle, he can grapple, he can strike. But when he's striking, he'll make mistakes and get chin. When he's grappling, he'll make mistakes in that area as well. And as you said, you just really can't put it together. There's two things that I worry about. Number one, I already kind of mentioned, is even when he was having success in the striking, he can get a little bit careless, a little bit reckless. You saw that happen in his fight a couple fights ago, whatever it was. I think it was the last fight he got knocked out. He was beating the shit out of that guy. Just got a little bit too aggressive chasing, got set down and put out. And against Bruno Silva, it seems like that could happen. I mean, he's going to be probably pressuring Bruno. Bruno will back up against the fence, but Bruno is a hard guy to put out. And if he thinks that he's having success and Bruno kind of was that Adesanya versus Alex comes over that big right hand, he could catch Ismail. The other thing is Ismail really likes to set everything up with his calf kick, a really strong, heavy calf kick. Bruno being a southpaw, that calf kick really is going to be there the same way that it would be against an orthodox fighter. So without him being able to set up his striking with that calf kick, and maybe getting too overzealous, that's enough pause for concern for me to not bet him. But he has an opportunity, I think, to dominate this fight on the ground. I think he's a good enough grappler to get it there and dominate Bruno. That would be my game plan if you trust your cardio, but he should be the better fighter. He's going to be my pick, but I agree, I'm not betting him.
Yeah, and the value's gone. If he was a good-sized dog, maybe, but not as a favorite. Can't make that happen.
I would consider him for lock of the week if he was an underdog for sure.
Yeah, but I think that was a very small window where he was, because as you guys know, I crank out my quick pick videos early as shit Sunday morning.
How many times do you crank it out a day?
until it's bruised, basically. But then the skin gets thicker, and then you build up a tolerance, and now I got leather. Either way, that quick pick video gets cranked out on Sunday mornings, bright and early, which means I am prepared a week or sometimes 2-3 weeks ahead of time. I didn't see at any point Bruno Silva as the favorite. So that line must have flipped instantly, immediately after being dropped. $8,300 in DraftKings Fantasy, $7,900 in DraftKings Fantasy. We have 13 fights to choose from. 14 if Said Nurmagomedov gets added back onto this card.
Say the name again?
Said Nurmagomedov. How does Joe Rogan say it? Said Nurmagomedov. Remember when he did that? You know.
Oh, I know.
I'm probably going to leave this fight alone out of my DraftKings Fantasy.
Right in the mic.
But if you do want to unlock all the picks, the bets, the round line leans, the artificial intelligence, the tools, and everything else for 4 fight cards,
Sub, Bruno.
which includes
I think the sub bet's a pretty good bet.
UFC 309, you can do that now. WeWantPicks.com, click become a member, $10 for an entire month. We do have it
by sub plus 600.
We have a 20 Bulgarian, I forget what it's called, Nevs, Bulgarian Nev super chat from D1 Mins. Cheers for all the free content, guys. Love your channel. Dimes? That would make more sense than D1 Mins. Cheers for all the free content, guys. Love your channel, and you helped me make a decent chunk of change already, so let's share. Well, we appreciate you. Thank you so much.
We do appreciate you.
For the super chat. You would think with your voice, you would
think
just
with your
be
voice
that
you would think, okay.
I have 3 kids.
I have 2 kids. So.